Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We're your hosts. I'm Randy.
And I'm Joe.
This is episode 34 of our podcast. The date is April 28th, 2021. And we have our homie, Patrick. He's back with us for a little potpourri.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
Great.
He's been working like a demon, but he's ready for a little cabin con vacation.
That can't come fast enough.
Dude, it is not far away. Let's see, what is today? Thursday?
Wednesday.
Feels like Thursday. Let's call it Thursday because that would mean exactly 2 weeks of cabin con. Oh, goodness gracious, man. Why don't we zone into the positive material plane? Got some call-ins?
Got some call-ins.
Hit us with it, Joseph. We got some good discussion topics today. I'm pretty excited about diving into these ideas. All right.
Okay, and our first set of calls are from Jason.
Hey guys, Jason here. I just wanted to match 33 calls to your 33rd episode. So that wasn't a coincidence at all. Listen through the calls. I think I need to answer as I go because I think I've already forgotten a point that maybe will come back to me that you mentioned. But we're going to talk about... Well, I'll come back to Rollmaster. I'll call you a different time with Rollmaster. But Rollmaster actually plays pretty smoothly, believe it or not. You have one roll to hit, which also gives your damage. If you roll well enough, then you might roll on a critical table. But that's pretty much it. So it's really not that bad. There are a ton of different critical tables, but you don't roll on multiple critical tables. You just roll on, whichever one's applicable. But as far as not saying what the name of the monster is, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about rare, unusual things they've never encountered before, that kind of thing. If they come up on a dog, I'm going to tell them it's a dog. And if orcs are common, I'm going to tell them, yeah, it's an orc.
Dude, 33 for our 33rd episode. This dude's a bomb. Yeah. Jason is with it. That's good, dude. It's a good dude. Yeah, so Patrick here, you've had a little experience with Rollmaster, right?
Yep. Played a campaign for... Actually, I think it was either a year and a half or 2 years with Aaron.
Would you agree there's not that much rolling, or there is that much? I mean, what from your experience have you seen?
I mean, it's as Jason said, but still, I think that's a little too much rolling. Now, I called in with an alternative.
Oh.
Yep. If we're going to play that.
Mm-hmm.
We will get to that.
Yep.
Unfortunately, some of these folks are more up on this, and they can have the opposing calls right after the other, but we're just going to plow through in order.
Okay, cool. Plow.
Okay, I re-recorded this message, so maybe it'll make a little more sense. I agree with you on the pantheons. I just don't like the idea of having everything in the deities and demigods book is fair game, and then we have wars between the gods, Thor's fighting Hercules and things like that. But I do like the idea of one pantheon that's known by different names by different cultures, and maybe even different cultures worship different aspects of those gods, and those gods might have favorite cultures. So if Thor, likes the Norseman better than he likes the Frenchman, then maybe your Norse clerics of I'm saying Norse, that's not fair, but you know what I'm saying. Your Icelandic cleric of the Thor might get different and better spells or more effective spells than the French cleric of Thor, potentially, if he favors one or the other. So you could definitely do different things like that, but still just using one base pantheon of gods. So anyhow, back to the show.
Yeah, I think one base pantheon is definitely something that's simple to handle. It may not mirror our real world because we have tons of gods, but people believe in all these gods. But I think he's right. I actually like that idea. Imagine that, the Thor, because in a lot of mythology, the gods are, if not capricious, they're at least whimsical. I would say capricious a lot. And maybe Thor just says, you know what? I like how these Vikings roll. So I'm going to bless them more than I am the Frenchmen. I mean,
as would we all.
Joseph, your beliefs are showing.
That was a faux pas.
Oh, folks pass. Sweet little French. Parlez-vous français? Oui, oui.
Okay, I promise I'm going to try not to give you a ton of calls, but as far as that lonely fun of the DM designing the adventure by themselves, Jay Webster has a term for it over at Role Play Rescue because he really enjoys that part of the hobby, and I forget what he calls it, lonely fun, something like that. I enjoy it too. I don't, like I say, I don't make a setting Bible or anything, but I definitely spend a lot of time thinking about, the setting and the sessions before I run a session. But a good example in another sport is with like 3D archery, where you do the woods courses, and so you'll set those courses of fire up for the archers. But so when you're a match director and you're setting up those courses, and you're thinking, well, I'm going to put the deer target behind this fallen log here, and I'm going to put this target up in the tree here, and figuring that out and coming up with those courses of fire is a lot of fun. So yeah.
I never thought of that. I'm sure there's
Okay,
lots
last
of.
one before the main topic.
I didn't know you were
Weird.
going
I
to
know,
sound
I'm
off
sorry.
on that. Are you into archery?
No, I was just saying it was interesting that there are other hobbies that probably have component pieces of them you can do by yourself. I think we hit on that too, about like gun collectors who make their own guns, who do target practice or read magazines or watch hunting shows. So yeah, that's cool.
Game
Well,
designers who make their own games.
What? Yeah, people that make their own games.
Well,
a la Patrick.
kata
Yeah.
isn't just moves out of nowhere.
Welcome back, Kata.
Kata. Oh, that's an obscure reference these days.
Yeah, it is.
You're supposed to be imagining yourself actually duking it out with folks,
Right.
and it's not supposed to be just you going through the motions. So in
Right.
a way, it's kind of like that too.
Yeah.
Also a way to build muscle memory.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting tidbit. Bruce Lee thought kata was stupid.
Bruce Lee he wasn't stupid. So maybe he's right. I don't know. If he was alive, I would have to fight him over it. And I'd make Joe fight him in my place as an honor, as a debt. What did you say, Bruce? Well, Joe does not like what you said to me.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
It would be awesome watching how fast I could run. He has short legs, so
That might be your only hope.
yep.
Okay, last one before the main topic. We are definitely in a golden age of gaming, between reprints, between PDFs, digital copies, print on demand. You can get things you thought you'd never ever be able to get again, right? So you're talking the original copies, like Empire of the Petal Throne is super expensive, but let's be honest, if you want Empire of the Petal Throne, you can get it electronically really cheap. As far as one way or another. Now I don't know. I haven't looked. I don't know if you could buy legal copies of it. So maybe you can't get it really cheap legally. But a lot of these games you can, like Starfaring, Ken St. Andre's game, the guy who created Tunnels and Trolls, the second ever sci-fi role-playing game from like 1975, 76. You can buy a PDF of that for like $4 or $5 now, where who knows what a hard copy that goes for, because it hasn't been in print for, since the 70s. So definitely golden age of gaming. There is one slight negative to that, though.
Coming up.
And that negative to the golden age of gaming is we almost have too many choices. And I know this is that first world problem kind of thing, but let's be honest, there's so many games out there. That's one of the reasons you see groups switching games so often. You don't see so many long-term games, because there's so many games out there people want to try. And like for me, I like the older games, but then we have all these new games coming out all the time. Bam, 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 bam. And people buy these new games, and because they buy them, they want to play them. And so we almost have too many choices. Now, of course, that's not true. You're in control of your own destiny. You control your own actions. You can choose to dedicate yourself to one game and not buy all these new systems. But it's definitely a complication to the golden age of gaming. Okay, on to the main topic.
No doubt. That's a problem for me. And I'm sure it is for Patrick too, man. I see some new game, I want to get it. Patrick's more of a board game, right? Even board games. So you're doubly screwed that way.
Yeah, I know. I am a sucker for Kickstarter. It doesn't take much to blow up my skirt.
But I'm really trying to cut back on that. That's my New Year's resolution in April of 2021. So I want to try to.
For me, you'd have to check me into rehab.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to say I'm over it. We talked about it last week, but I think I'm turning a corner, and Joe's always been at the corner. The corner.
I've always been poor.
That helps a lot. That helps a lot, actually.
Yes.
But no, you still are a little more. We talk about your even killedness. You think more about your purchases. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll get it. $70, that's fine. I want it. Dumb. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's right. I think definitely. I do feel like sometimes we have so many games, but I've narrowed it down. I've talked about it, kind of Savage Worlds, 13th Age, and then D&D, some flavor of D&D. I'm not too excited right now to get outside of that comfort zone. Though, when I said that, I'm going to run Aliens in a couple of weeks. So there you go.
Well, a lot of these games can serve for one shots.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's so many different kinds of gamers out there. I'm sure there's probably leftovers. There's probably more choices than necessary, and that might self-correct at some point. The cream will rise.
Do you think he's something to what he said about, and I know we have control of your own wallet and stuff, but do you think back in the day, say in the early 80s, because there were less games, we were just D&D players, Joe. I don't know about Patrick, but in your heyday of playing when you were young in high school and middle school, were you one system player, or were you guys still playing lots of different systems?
And we had a few. We were D&D was my first game, and that's what I was introduced to the hobby on. I know we went through our Palladium phase, and we kind of talk about it like a bunch of guys that were once into My Little Pony. It's something we kind of have a about. Yeah, we went through our Palladium phase in high school, but I like Palladium. I like it more for its setting and fluff,
Sure,
more than I do for its rule set, because its rule set is, I don't know, I thought was kind of lame.
Fair enough. But I mean, do you guys think that was a thing, or do you think it's just maybe? I mean, it's got to be, the more choices have to affect some of the ADD in a lot of people.
it may.
Who knows?
You get analysis paralysis.
Yeah,
That's a thing.
yeah, true. All right, cool.
Okay, just finished the main topic. Well, I finished the podcast. I agree with you on the main topic. No real disagreement there. I too prefer playing the heroic party, playing relatively good characters, or Han Solo types maybe, but I'm not interested in an evil campaign or anything like that. And good rundown on all the different things that inspire you. Definitely, you can find inspiration all over the place, and you should. And I'm glad you brought up like Frankenstein's RPG, where even if you don't agree with the ideas, it's good to hear them, because it's good to just be exposed to other ideas to help you shape your own ideas. As far as the negativity or the negative material plane and comic books,
Yeah.
I have a question for Patrick. I'll go ahead if you want to comment first.
I just want to, before I forget, I think we could probably make an episode out of almost every one of those inspirations. Certainly books and movies and music.
Yeah.
We could
Yes.
break those out and do a top 10, top 20 countdown of all of our
Greatest.
top inspirational media.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea,
and
actually.
perhaps the whys and the wherefores, I think.
I think that would be cool, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe we could, yeah, that's not bad. On a different note, I want to ask Patrick, because Jason echoed our comments on playing heroes, not big fan of evil. Do you ever have desire, or have you ever played an evil campaign, Patrick?
It's kind of like it's kind of like one of those things where you feel the itch to try it at least once, and kind of like experimenting with like some illegal drug or something.
Right.
And sometimes it feels that way too.
Right.
But I couldn't really do that long term. I think it's just I have too much hero in me, and I don't want to see people suffering or be a backstabbing bastard or
Well, yeah, I see people suffer, especially at your own hand, because that's what you're going to eventually do at some point.
right.
If you're an evil tyrant or you're an evil wizard, I mean, you're going to have no compunctions about, I don't know, are you guys caught up on Tale of the Manicore? Can I spoil the most recent episode or not?
I thought I was caught up.
Well, just a little spoiler, that evil cleric they introduced. Did you see that scene, Patrick? Or are you listening to that part?
I did not, but you can go ahead and spoil.
Well, I don't want to give too much. Here's a spoiler. So just for Jason, don't listen, pause for the next 12 seconds. You know, that evil cleric that gets those two fishermen to ferry him across the water to get him somewhere. And then they go, well, pay us the 5 gold. And he turns around and kills them and raises them as zombies.
Right.
I mean, I'm like, I don't want to play a dude like that.
No.
I mean, I have no interest whatsoever. And I don't really want to be DMing a bunch of players who would have that compunction. Now, even if I've heard people say they've had really good evil campaigns, and that's fine. I don't know. It just strikes me as a place I don't want to go.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
I agree with you on the idea of retconning existing characters into, to push an agenda. That said, I do think it's important that people see. I think we need role models both that mirror us and are different from us, right? But I think it is important to have role models that, we can look to role models that do mirror us. So I think it's important to have minority superheroes and female superheroes of all genders and all that kind of thing. I think that's important. But I don't think we need to morph existing heroes into those things, like you're saying. But I think, especially for kids, they should be able to look up at somebody like them. And I think also they need to be exposed to heroes that aren't like them, because, we don't want to be in an echo chamber or a straitjacket regardless.
Well, I guess you should either be a hero to look up to or a sad tale to warn about.
Sure.
I mean, I guess that's good either way. And
I remember having all kinds of different sorts of inspirational heroes when I was growing up, and all different kinds. I like kung fu movies, and I like the heroic Japanese or Chinese martial artists. I had no problem with that. I can't tell you how many heroic people of different sorts I thought were cool. And I even liked what's the name of those Tomb Raider? That's a girl.
Oh yeah, that's a girl. Yeah.
Aliens, Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
all
Ripley
across the board.
Hero.
Yeah, there's all kinds of
there's points to be
inspiration you
made,
can
I
draw.
think, for that. Yeah, but I could just go ahead, Patrick.
Sorry. My very first heroes were the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
That's something that stuck with me even to today.
Cool.
And since they're all Jewish except for one, they were very different from you. I think they were. Maybe not Bill Murray.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, I think we and Jason are pretty close to an agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I accidentally skipped 7 when I was numbering these. Sorry about that. But yeah, I subscribe to both Marvel Unlimited and DC Universe Infinite, which are the online services. It's like $70 a year each, but they have all their back archives, or a bunch of the back archives of the comics online, and you can read them. And I don't tend to read many of the news stories at all. I might look at them, but I subscribe to that because I really enjoy some of the older things, like when I was growing up. So I'll read the comics from the 70s and 80s on there, and it's a great resource for that. But yeah, I'm not so interested in the newer comics, to be honest. But like I say, I'm in agreement with you. But I do think it's important that the kids are exposed to heroes like them and unlike them, because I think we need to, we want to have role models of all types, right? So anyhow, I'll talk to you later.
I'd never heard of that DC Unlimited or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds kind of cool. I mean, if it has their complete archive, maybe Jason can answer. So they go all the way back to, like, say, Action Comics 1.
That would
You
be
know,
cool.
that'd be very cool. I'd love to read those. So
It's not that expensive.
yeah.
I mean, you could probably spend one or two annuals subscriptions and probably read almost all the back catalog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I agree about. I don't know about need.
Right. That word threw me off. I don't think you need different
But
role models.
It certainly doesn't hurt.
Nope.
And if we stopped worrying about who's what sort of person is wearing the cape or being a hero,
Yeah,
then it wouldn't matter.
just let them be the hero, as we said before.
Yeah.
Don't focus on their quote unquote identity.
Know them by their deeds.
Yeah. Yep.
And yes, that includes accurate depiction of Christian superheroes as well.
That was the whole message. The last.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, it's all right, Jason. You'll never see that though, but that's cool.
Yeah.
I agree.
Maybe an indie. There might be an indie Christian comic. You never know.
Well, I don't want a Christian comic. I just like to see them. If they're going to do all the different flavors of people, and it'd be nice if they would do that, but they
Right.
won't.
Yeah, I don't need Bible Man. I'm
No.
pretty cool with having Captain America.
Yeah, exactly. But I wouldn't care if we had a guy that had faith. I mean, I remember in Man of Steel, I really liked when Kal-El went to that church and got some guidance from that priest and seemed to actually believe that. I mean, they didn't come out and say it, but it seems like he must have some sort of faith if that's where he went.
Sure.
At
And
least some part of
Daredevil,
it. Mhm.
in the TV show on Netflix, Daredevil, now I didn't watch all of it, so I don't know if he went dark, but it seemed like the priest was a good dude.
Oh, Daredevil was, I believe, a devout Catholic in the comics, if I'm correct, was raised that way.
Right. And the priest that he talked to seemed like a good fellow.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah.
the stereotypical, drunk or
Yeah.
touchy-feely dude.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
This voice sounds familiar.
Okay.
Hey guys, Patrick for my first call-in, and I wanted to let you know about an alternative to Rollmaster in HARP, which is High Adventure Role-Playing, I think. Whereas Rollmaster has like dozens of different charts that you have to roll on, like 3 for every attack. It condenses all of your dice rolling down to a single chart. Like if you're going to throw a firebolt, you're only rolling on one chart, and it gives you your damage, your critical, and your description for your critical or whatever. But it condenses so many things down to something far more bite-sized and simple, and I think it runs a lot smoother, and I think you might actually enjoy Rollmaster if you played HARP instead. But I will get back to listening to the cast, and I'll talk to you guys later.
He does sound familiar.
Yes.
Yeah, he does sound familiar. But you know what? I've decided I hate that dude. Don't ever have him on again. Ignore his calls.
Yeah.
Are
That
you
was
sure?
good.
We have one more.
Oh, really?
How about we just play it just for giggles?
Okay. Patrick already hates this guy. Huh. Wonder what's
Hey
going
guys,
on.
Patrick again. Also, concerning Blades in the Dark, I think you mentioned it in 2 segments ago. Just wanted to let you know it's not just all about assassins. Your group as a whole has to choose like a paradigm that they go by. Assassins is just one of them. It plays a lot more like Ocean's 11. Groups of thieves searching for valuables and stuff and pulling off heists. You could also be cultists trying to awaken a dead god, or even a shadier version of the Ghostbusters with like ghost hunting and such. Or you could be merchant team or whatever. But there's a lot more to Blades in the Dark than just assassins killing people. Just wanted to let you know. Talk to you later, guys.
Yeah, it's cultists killing people, and no, I'm just kidding.
Merchants
No,
killing people.
Merchants killing people. No, thanks for that, Patrick. I appreciate it, but I didn't know that, and that does spread it out. But it sounds. Well, I mean, I guess the name is Blades in the Dark, so you're not exactly expecting
the
to play
name
heroes.
kind of
Yeah,
pushes you towards everyone's an assassin, But
Or
yeah,
at least
Assassin's
not
just
good.
one of the character types, and it's
Right.
one of the character teams.
Okay. Fair enough.
Could you be a group of anti-cultists? There's a summoning ritual getting ready to go down, and we're gonna break in there and mess it up.
Well, I'm sure you could twist it that way. I mean, there are those like ghost hunters as a type of character, and I'm sure they would, go after evil cultists.
But in the book, are they all described as pretty much dark and edgy characters?
They all have their, I went through my hair dyeing phase, emo hair flip,
Gotcha.
listening to Simple Plan.
Now, you mentioned harp earlier. So you told me that before. That's actually something I've been intrigued by, because if I could have a pared down roll master, I could be down for that. What about you, Joe?
Oh, I'd try it out.
Yeah.
Remember how they had all the different spell lists, like Fire Law had like 50 different spells on it.
Yeah.
One was just, Firebolt 1, 2, and 3 were just different ranges for Firebolt, but they counted it as 3 separate spells.
Mm-hmm.
No, in Harp, you just buy the spell Elemental Bolt, and you have modifiers to your roll, and you can pump in extra power points to increase the range of your Elemental Bolt, or change your Elemental Bolt from a Firebolt to a Lightning Bolt, or have it hit multiple people. That
sounds like Savage Rollmaster.
Kind of.
Savage World Rollmaster Savaged. Dude, I'm gonna have to get it now. Dang you, Patrick. I gotta check that out.
Sucker.
Cool. Yes, Joe. We know.
Sucker.
Someone get a kill and even it out for Joe.
with everything being pared down, I mean, there are like 20 different charts, but if you're fighting with a bladed weapon, it'll just have bladed weapon chart. Here's your you do your dice roll, and each entry is your damage, your crit, and what the crit does.
So harp is the one that's got, you said, 20 charts, and Rollmaster has 2,000.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right, so we have another set from John Allen Large.
Sweet.
From Red Dice.
Hey there guys, it's John here from the Red Dice Diaries. I'm just listening to your Gaming Inspirations episode. Probably leave you a few more calls as I listen to it. And I've got to say, whilst I can see Jason's point in this call in about, if you get a bit too obsessed with virtual tabletops, they can become a bit of an end unto themselves. I don't know that I agree with it becoming a video game, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I use virtual tabletops fairly extensively, I suppose you might say. I use Foundry VTT, but a lot of like the stuff set up on that is just automation. So my players can just like click on things on their character sheets rather than having to like scramble through pieces of paper and whatever, because I'm like, hey, if I'm going to be using a computer, why not take advantage of the fact that a computer can do all these calculations and things like that far quicker than I can do manually.
That makes sense. I mean, that's cool. I just, I don't know, John, I get what you're saying. I'm sure you're right. You know more about this than I do, but I don't know, because of my job so much with the Zoom and online stuff, it is just not tweaking my nads, as they say now. I'm not interested.
To me, it's not the same as being there in person. I mean, I totally get the ease of use with, having things all calculated for you. That was probably one of the only things that I really liked about it. But yeah, I need to be there with people.
Yeah, could just be us.
Right. Well, the other thing is John, as he's explained, he's in his town. He doesn't have a home group.
Right.
So that's the same with Jason. They don't have any groups there in their hometown. So they don't really have any choice. So they make the best of it.
Yeah, it sounds
I
like, and
guess
that's
it,
fine.
it might just be us who are like the needy girlfriends.
Yeah.
I got to have you right there, right
Yes.
stapled to my hip.
Right.
Why don't you want to be with me anymore?
Because I got the interwebs. No, that's cool, John.
After all, if computers couldn't do certain sort of mathematical tasks better and more efficiently than humans, well, we wouldn't use them at all in so many aspects of our lives, would we? But I think the reason it doesn't become like a video game is because you still have a GM sort of driving the creative side of it behind that. The computer, the VTT, whatever, is simply a tool that you can use or not. And as Jason says, perfectly valid way of doing games online is just using Zoom. I still do that for one shots. For my campaigns, though, excuse me, where I'm trying to track things in maybe a little bit more detail, if I can store it all in the virtual tabletop and have all that stuff available to me, why would I not do so? I'm already using it. I may as well take advantage of it. And there's loads of stuff on the VTT that I use that like the players don't even have to touch on if they don't want to and they're not interested on that, and it won't impact the game.
Yeah, I know back in the day when I was really into Pathfinder, I used an online tool, Hero Forge. Is it Hero Forge?
No.
Hero Forge is the mini maker.
Hero
Hero
Lab.
Hero Lab.
Hero Lab. Mm-hmm.
It's been so long since I've used it, I can't even remember the name of it. But I was really into that.
Yeah, you loved it for a while.
Well, it was kind of needful for Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
Yeah.
You could probably make do without something like that if you had certain favorite choices and whatnot. But it seemed to be something that was useful, and I went on kind of a we should use more computers in the game kick, and because they are useful.
Oh yeah. Well, John pointed out that it sounds like they're really awesomely useful.
Right. So
I
get where he's coming from.
I know Joe's not like this, and there's Patrick. I'm just a fuddy-duddy. I don't want anything to do with computers if I can help it. As far as gaming goes,
I think computers should enhance the experience, not take over the experience.
Right.
But those tools help me as a GM organize and keep track of my shit, basically. So, like, for instance, in Foundry at the moment, I've got a little calendar module put on there, which I've set up to reflect the calendar of my fantasy world. And you can put notes for certain dates and certain reminders. So if I know that the players have to pay 2,000 gold pieces or whatever to their henchmen every month, I can just set a little reminder that'll pop up when we get to that date every month. And yeah, I could track it on a little bit of paper and have loads of scribbled notes, but why not take advantage of the fact that I'm using a computer anyway, and it does those things really well and helps you organize stuff. Am I saying that the computer's going to solve all your gaming problems? No, of course it's not. And you still need that sort of human creative input as the sort of engine of your game. But let's face it, computers are very good at organizing things as long as you put a bit of effort in.
So, John, you have henchmen that don't murder you in your sleep?
What is he doing?
Interesting. That's interesting.
No, Joe, turn your. Don't listen to John. Henchmen are meant to murder you in your sleep.
That's what I've grown used to.
Well, I'll give you guys one thing that you were right about.
What's that?
I think Brits curse better than we do.
100%. There's actually no comparison. They're so much better. It's not even funny. It sounds like, no, John, I agree with what he's saying. I use computer to type my notes. I mean, for CabinCon, every one of my adventures, I have a word file that I've typed up notes on. But I mean, I guess it's just where you want to spend time. I guess I'm just being an old crusty grognard guy. Crusty.
Hey there, John again from the Red Dice Diaries. Just listening to Jason's voicemail that you played about the SCA. And I've got to admit, his experience sounds pretty similar to my experience with LARP over here in the UK, where, don't get me wrong, I enjoy LARP and we make a lot of our own kit as well. Luckily, I'm married to someone who's very good at sewing, whereas I can do a bit, but I'm nowhere near as accomplished. But, you know, with a bit of a hot glue gun and various bits and pieces, it's surprising what you can bosh together, and you can always buy the odd little bits and pieces here and there. But making your kit does save you a lot of money. The weapons we use are like carbon fiber rods with like foam over the top of them, sort of sculpted so they look like an actual weapon, and they're like painted with a mix of liquid latex and acrylic paints on top of them, so they actually look vaguely like actual weapons.
After John and Jason talk about it, I think we're just making excuses, Joe. I think we thought it was expensive. Maybe it wasn't. It was an illusion.
Yeah, it probably was.
We were probably like, "No, I ain't making my own tabard. I'm out of here."
I'm out.
That's cool. They can do it.
And yeah, I've got to agree with Jason that I perhaps don't take it as seriously as some people. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy like rocking up to an event, dressing like an orc or a knight or whatever, having a few drinks with my friends, getting into some fighting, bit of a laugh, happy days, bit of a holiday as well. But there are some people who take it super seriously, which is fine for them, you know, whatever floats your boat. But for me, again, same with like general RPGs, there's always a certain part of me that's like, look, I'm a big bloke dressed as an orc or whatever in a field hitting someone with a latex weapon. I enjoy it, but there's only so seriously I can take it. But some people do get like really, really in depth and into the world and stuff like that, which I don't. I see it more as like a holiday with a bit of fighting and a bit of drinking and hanging out with my friends thrown in, and the opportunity to like do a bit of hobby crafting on the side. But it's still enjoyable. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the rest of the episode, guys.
Yeah, I've had people, even at my regular game table, get a little bit too into it. I recall I had one guy, my buddy Philip would know. I'll shout out to Steve, the guy we gamed with in Bloomington when I was in college. And first time we played with him, he was playing a priest, and he wanted to shout out, cast a spell, and he leapt up in my chair in my house and started going, "I do this," and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, holy crap, what is wrong with this nutbag? He turned out to be a fantastic guy, but it was like he really got into it.
Yeah.
Not for Joe.
Awkward.
Not for even kill.
No.
Hey there, guys. John here again. You are absolutely right. Masons do have levels, and that's basically a measurement. I don't know the exact criteria, but it's a measurement of like how far they've progressed and how much influence they have within that organization or within their Masonic lodge. And I think that comes back to what Randy was saying, that, you know, as long as you sort of work things like levels into the narrative, you could have that. I mean, we've seen sort of like a bit of that with like the Towers of Sorcery in Dragonlance, although it doesn't relate specifically to levels. And I think, yeah, if there's an in-character reason for sort of saying like, oh, I'm a third circle wizard or whatever, that's fine. But yeah, purely relying on the out of character sort of mechanic seems a little bit off for me personally. But like you say, your mileage may vary. Anyway, I'm going to go back to listening to the episode, guys. Take it easy. Hey there, guys. John again, listening to you talking about people speaking different languages and people speaking English. And I've got to admit, yeah, I'm always in awe of people who can speak multiple languages, because I'm fairly rubbish at languages. I can manage a little bit of schoolboy, sort of school-taught French, and that's about it, you know, enough to ask for directions and stuff like that. I'm not really fluent in it, but I've played with a number of people who don't have English as their first language online, and I've had a few people say to me like, oh, sorry if my English was a bit bad during that. And as you say, I'm always like, how you can speak English far better than I can speak any other language, so do not worry about it. So that's what I've really got to say on that. Like I say, it always makes me laugh when people are like, oh, sorry, my English isn't very good. And I'm just like, hell, I can barely hold my own in like a couple of languages. So like people who can even vaguely fluently speak multiple languages, amazing. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the episode, guys. Take it easy.
Focus der Bahnhof.
Right.
That's it for me.
Where was I corrected? I kept saying Voice der Toilet, and it was Voice die Toilet. That's because toilet is feminine. And it was great because they corrected me, the German guy did, and I loved it. I think I told you guys that also at the grocery store I went to, the guy would make me speak German. He taught me as I went through the whole week I stayed. I went to get a couple, 3 times there. I could not get out of that line without speaking German. He wouldn't even give me my change back until I did. I love that dude. He was awesome. Yeah. So I butchered it quite fluently.
Fluent butchery.
Fluent butchery is what I would call it.
Hey there, guys. It's John again. Odin in the Dresden Files books is known as Donna Vadarung. He's the head and CEO of Monarch Securities. Monarch, obviously, what I referring to is Odin personality. In his sort of slightly different aspect as Santa, he's known as Kringle. And it's also been suggested that he may have inspired the poem Beowulf. Yeah, as you say, Dresden gets very gonzo progressively more as it sort of goes along, which is why I've sort of fallen out of love with them a little bit, because I really like the sort of slightly grimier, like detective vibe they had going on in the early books. And there's been like quite a significant amount of power creep as the books have gone on. But hey, they're still fun to read, and I like some of the audio books. Anyway, take it easy, guys. I'll catch you soon.
We're going to have to bend up his geek card, I think.
Why is that?
He has spoken disparagingly about Dresden.
Oh, that's right. That was kind of a backhanded put down.
Kind of.
John, I'm so disappointed, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
There was definitely more of a magical noir for the first few books, and then it's more like Defenders of the Multiverse.
Well, points on your geek license, sir.
I think I do understand what he's saying. It's an issue with a lot of urban fantasy is that they feel that they have to incorporate all the legends, every single one of them that they possibly can.
Right.
You know, it's weird.
It is weird.
Let's see. Yeah.
Hey there, guys. It's John again from the Red Dice Diaries. Just listening to the last bit of your gaming inspiration episode. Very much enjoyed it. And the bit where you're talking about why wouldn't Elminster help out with evil threats. I think a way in which this was handled really well was in the fighting fantasy and advanced fighting fantasy novels. There's one of the sort of choose your own adventure fighting fantasy books where you go to the City of Thieves, Port Blacksand, and you get the aid of a powerful wizard called Nicodemus who lives there. And then later on in the advanced fighting fantasy books, which are more like an RPG, you have a sort of black sand book there as like the sort of default like city setting, and they address it specifically where there's a sort of paragraph in there where it's like, oh, what if the players anytime they have a problem just like rock off to like where Nicodemus lives in his shack under this bridge and they try and ask him for help. And the way it's portrayed in those books is the whole reason that Nicodemus moved to this like little shack under this bridge in this scuzzy City of Thieves is because he was sick of like every 5 minutes adventurers knocking on his door asking him for help with a problem. You can also take the tact as well with like people like Elminster and whatever, that they're dealing with like even bigger threats that no one else gets to know about. And therefore they rely on other people to deal with, from their opinion, the slightly lower level threats because they're busy fending off extra dimensional invaders or stuff like that. So they haven't got time to be dealing with like every little warlord who like pops up. But really enjoy the episode, dude. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work, and I will catch you all soon.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you, John.
Yeah, that was cool. I agree with you 100% on that one.
Yeah.
Until the players piss off, they don't need help from an Archmage. You're
Do
ninth
it
level.
yourself.
You're ninth level. Figure it out.
All right. So now we have 2 messages from a new person.
Sweet.
Not a podcaster.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, fellas. My name is Taylor. I do not have a podcast of my own, but I call into Jason's all the time, so I figured I'd call you guys too. I'm enjoying the show. You guys are a voice of sanity in an otherwise strange ecosystem, and I appreciate that. On another note, Australia, I can vouch, is not real. One of my gaming buddies claims to live in Melbourne, but every time he turns his video feed on, boom, right side up, dead giveaway. Hashtag Australia not real.
Oh, Taylor, dude.
That is kind of the tactic of the Australia not real people. They say crap like that.
Well, dude, he's right. So there you go. No, thanks for calling. That's awesome, Taylor. Cool. We're glad you're listening, and glad you think we're reasonable, because we think we're reasonable.
Yes, we do, and definitely appreciate that. One
Yeah,
more
thank you.
from
Pretend
Mr.
to be
Taylor.
reasonable.
Oh, cool.
Hmm?
What, Patrick?
I said at least we can pretend to be reasonable.
We do pretend very well.
Yes. We pretend a lot. We are role players.
Ta-da.
Yep, more seriously, this is Taylor again, talking about inspiration for your home game in movies. I would submit 1982's The Dark Crystal by Jim Henson and Frank Oz. That film has so much evocative visual, and it's so alien that I took a lot out of that film, let it inspire my campaign game, and the players just ate that stuff up. So, The Dark Crystal.
Dude. What's the movie, Patrick, that I haven't seen that you want to take my card away from me for? My geek card. The Fifth?
The Fifth Element.
I've never seen The Fifth Element, and guess what else I've never seen?
You've
Dark
never seen
Crystal?
The Dark Crystal?
The Dark Crystal. But you know what? If Taylor recommends it, I need to watch that thing, just for because they do have some crazy looking vulture birds, but I have
Mhm.
I have no idea what it's about. So
Skeksis.
yeah, so I think
I'm
I need to watch
Skeksis and
that.
I know it.
Do they do that?
No, 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 that was just a gag on my part.
Because I was saying 82. That's pre that. Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, I'm going to watch it. That's a
It's
recommendation.
all Muppets. There's no people.
That's all right. I like Farscape.
I mean, the
There was
closest you got to people are the elven types they have in there, the
Gelflings.
Gelflings. Yeah.
But I think it's kind of cool how you said it's supposed to have really kind of an alien, weird vibe. And I know with who is it? Oz. Who's the other guy? Frank Oz.
Jim
and
Henson.
Jim Henson. I mean,
Yeah.
why haven't I watched that? Okay, I got to. Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
You guys were talking about like people like really getting into their roles in games, and
Mhm.
I'm reminded of a story, something that happened to me when I worked at the pizza place.
Mhm.
It was just me and the manager at the time in the store, and just out of the blue, we're preparing stuff for the day, and she asks me, "Do you and Joyce role play?" And of course, I said, "Yeah, all the time." And I go into this diatribe about role playing, and the smile on her face is getting larger, larger, and she asks, "Do you guys dress up?" And I said, "Well, no, that's kind of weird, but I mean, we have friends over every Friday, and we all order pizza, have a good time." And then she starts snickering, and I went, "What the hell is so? Oh, we are not talking about D&D, are we?"
Wow.
Straight out of a sitcom.
Dude, our neighbors, when we lived where you live now, Patrick lives in our old home. It's his. One of our neighbors, kind of a weird dude. We'd been there for several years. And, we gamed like crazy people for a while. Always had tons of cars in our driveway. And I was at work, and he talked to Deb, and he goes, "Well, you guys had another big party last night or the other night and last weekend." And she's like, "Yeah, we were playing D&D and stuff." And he goes, "Really? I thought you guys were swingers." I'm like, what?
I'm
Dude.
pretty sure they think Joyce and I are too.
Because you have all the gamers over. So look at us, we're nerds, but that don't mean nothing. So that's cool. That's funny.
That's hilarious.
All right. So just keeping our toes dipped in the positive material plane. I don't know if you guys had a comment, some sort of positive thing you want to comment on our hobby, but I wanted to say, I just picked these things to try to kind of give our hobby, props, be positive. I think it's interesting how committed our hobbyists are, but we also have a variety. We have people that are very casual gamers. They play on Friday and they forget about it till the next Friday or 2 weeks from there. They don't even, it never crosses their mind. My wife is really into a game, but when the game's over, characters put away, she's not thinking D&D at all or anything. And then the people like us, we do a stinking podcast every week, Joe, and talk about it. and we got everything in between. I think that's I think it's a positive thing for our hobby. You can dip in your foot as lightly as you want to, or you can dive into the deep end of the pool.
Sure thing. And just so people don't get the wrong idea, we aren't over analyzing anything.
Never.
No. It's a testament to the hobby that it is accommodating to all types.
Yeah.
No matter what some folks might want to say, it is very accepting, very inclusive, in the best possible imaginable way.
I agree.
I'll take the next on the Thanksgiving torch here.
Sure.
But as far as our hobby is concerned, just on a personal level, every person in my life that's precious to me, all the people that I come to know as family now, and includes my wife, all of these people I met through the hobby.
I can say this much. My bestest friends, I mean, two of them are right here on the podcast with me. And honestly, they're all gamers. I mean, I can't imagine really just playing with people and just the gaming being all that we have. I don't even know if I would want that. I'm not sure I would join a group. I wouldn't have the inclination to go play with people that are just my playing gaming group and I never talk to them. 9:30 game's over by. 9:30 game's over by.
Right.
I don't think it's likely. I mean, for me, I've played lots of different groups. We became buddies almost always. If the group lasted any kind of time, you become friends. And I think I'm guessing, am I picking up on your vibe, Patrick? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely makes you feel like a community and a group and sometimes kind of a family, it's pretty awesome.
We have a lot of overlap in interests.
Yes.
So you can't help it really.
No, not really.
I mean, there are some exceptions, but not very many.
No, it's rare not to, it's like with last week in the negative plane, we talked about comics. It'd be hard pressed to find somebody at Cabin Con who didn't know a little bit about comics, and that's a lot of our main buddies that do that.
Right.
Anybody have anything?
Of all the guys that we have in our gaming group, I think I am probably the least knowledgeable of the comics. Maybe Jeff. I don't think he reads a lot of comics. Does
No,
he?
Jeff knows a lot about comics.
Oh, okay. So
I think you might be talking about me.
I
only know a few of them.
Yeah. And I'm a kind of a fanatic. I know Mark Anthony's fanatic. Josh is fanatic. I mean, they may not all collect now, but they know a lot of the history. And Joe would read. I remember, Joe, when we were younger, you'd read my comics and you get your own, but you weren't really a collector.
I'm not a collector in general. So
yeah.
I mean, the superhero I know about the most is Doctor Strange. And that comes just from, the hobby of, D&D. And
he's a wizard.
He's a wizard.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else have any other comments, or shall we move into our main topic? Potpourri with Patrick Part Deux. A little français. Deux. Two for you.
Part Deuce.
Hey, man, for you non-Francaise people, it is deux. We parlez-vous français sometimes. Anyway, we're going to kind of do this every time he comes on, or at least a lot of times, just to kind of hit several sort of short topics and get his take on it and our take on it, kind of a round robin thing. And the first one was kind of a big one, I think, in terms of, oh man, this is just real interpersonal issues. Talking about dealing with player conflict at the table. And then you guys can see there where I listed a few things. And if you have other ideas, bring them up too, but I want to start with mine here. PvP. I think that's a player thing. I don't think that's a character thing. And I guess from my perspective, I hate to say it's a flaw, but I kind of think it's a flaw. I kind of don't want that at my table unless it's like agreed upon that we're all going to PvP.
I had enough of that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we played Palladium, our characters kind of got confrontational with each other. I don't know if it was just the fact that we were in high school and, we just did not have our shit together. But I have so grown out of PvP, and I absolutely despise PvP at the table. It was originally why I was the big grump about the arena battles in the beginning with the Elysium campaign. It's like I don't want to fight everybody else. This is just a dick waving contest.
Right, and I think that the arena was fun, or fun for what it was, as long, but plus it was laid out front, especially when you could get resurrected. It wasn't like you're losing something, but it was a competitive way to play D&D. It was an interesting experiment. I don't know if I would ever want to go back to it.
Especially those first couple of arena battles.
Yeah.
I remember, speaking of confrontations, some people take it personally when you take out the character that they worked so hard on. And I remember one person in particular was very angry that I took him out. And it's like, dude, you attacked me first. And it was so bad that half the way home, dude wouldn't speak to me. Quiet car.
Well, it's one of those things. To me, I didn't mind it because it was just the way the game was set up. But in general, I hate the backstabbing thing. Joe's got tons of stories, man. We were young. We were all like turning on each other and taking our stuff. I mean, we took Murder Hobo to the next level.
Right. Yeah, the biggest difference with the arena and typical is, in a typical game, you've got some other objective. You've got a objective you're working toward. Why should you stab each other in the back? In the arena, the objective was to stab each other in the back, or in the front, or in the side, whatever.
Yeah.
But point well taken. It was there was some weird interpersonal things that went along with that whole thing, and part of something what I came to think of with character creation with Pathfinder, it takes so much work to make a character. You don't want it to be just something you have to throw in the trash first 5 minutes into the scenario.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And if you're doing a 10-person, battle royal, and you get beat and you get critted the very first strike, what fun is that? You're sitting around for another 2 hours watching everybody else play and have fun. That's not so great. But my thought here was, dealing with it. So let's transition this away from the arena, which was for sure set up to be PvP. But if you have a player at your table who insists on, I'll say it this way, causing enough strife, either causing enough strife to where the characters are likely to come to blows, purposely trying to kill someone, or, what if a player gets found out? Well, that's maybe a different question. If a character's evil amongst a party of good. So my question is, how do you deal with it at the table, especially if that's not the objective of the story, right?
Well, you've got to sack up and say, what the heck is going on here? What are you doing?
I agree. Do you think it's the DM's responsibility?
Not necessarily. I mean, he could be one. Anybody at the table could say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, at Dreams of Conquest, Dave, Aaron, and I played with one of Aaron's work acquaintances that he happened to bring along. And this guy, oh my God, this guy. He was the type where, we'd interrogate somebody. I'd tell him, okay, you're free to go, run and don't come back. And then as the guy's running, he puts an arrow in the back.
Right.
And, or, he needs information from the owner of an orphanage. So he decides to burn the orphanage down in order to get the information. This guy was like a literal psychopath.
I was going to say that's more like psychopathic behavior rather than.
And I did something to counter him once, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I pointed to myself and I went, "Lawful good." And he points to himself and says, "Chaotic neutral." And I went, "Oh, the asshole alignment."
Right.
People use that for that. They have for years.
Oh my gosh. I know chaotic neutral can be something that can actually be played, but it's usually the excuse alignment, the
Right.
blanket excuse alignment to get away with doing any psychopath thing that you can think of. At the end of that game,
Mhm.
I got so fed up with him that I unleashed all of my dailies intentionally targeting him.
Oh, that's so you handle it in character.
Yeah, I got so sick of him that it's like, nope, I'm violating my alignment.
My
But were you
yeah.
technically?
Wizard.
No. I said, but were you? Were you
Were you?
really violating your alignment, punishing an evildoer? He wasn't
I don't
helpless,
know.
right?
I was actually getting really pissed off at the guy himself. It's like I think he was just using his character to be a belligerent.
Right.
And nobody would step up. Nobody would step up and go, dude, stop being a dick.
I mean, Dave was like, what was that all about? And then
Yeah.
Aaron kind of afterwards is like, I'm sorry about that. He's kind of a low dose person.
Oh wow. Okay then. So I take it he never returned, huh?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. One and only time.
Yeah, that's I think with the PvP, I think it's funny when Joe talked about sacking up and calling them out on it. You got to be prepared. You
Yeah.
got to be. They might say, "Hey, this is what I would do." I say, "Dude, that don't work.
I
That don't
hate
work.
that.
That's lame.
This is what my character would do.
Why are you playing a character that would screw up the party?"
Yeah.
Because you know what? We're not here to like do your story. We're here to do a different story where we're all working together, not against each other. I mean, unless of course that's your plan, and then you're planning on PvP, but generally we're not.
Sometimes you're just going to play with those people who go in with the intention of either ruining a campaign or bringing everybody down to their level.
Right.
I have an example, and I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. And this goes to the next part where I talked about player personality clashes. This is kind of a personality thing. This one guy I'd met online, or he wanted to come play, and he did. And my wife was like brand new to third edition D&D, and he was like just going whatever she suggested, he was against it. And he at one point during the game said, "You guys have to choose. It's either me or her." And I was playing with two other new players who had only played with me a couple of times. And afterwards they told me, they said, "Don't worry, Randy. It's not like we're going to choose this guy over the DM's wife." I mean, we want to keep playing, but that wasn't the reason. I mean, it was stupid. And this guy that did it, they ended up going on an adventure. He stayed back in the tavern the whole night. And then afterwards he told me, he goes, "Man, that was really great." He didn't tell me this. He was testing me, Patrick. He goes, "I want you to DM my group. You're really good. Would you come DM me and my friends?" And I was like,
That is a strange resume.
Yeah. He said, I thought you handled that really well. Our group has a lot of PvP and you handled it very well. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. Thanks though. I don't know.
I would say, I don't believe you. Get out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't believe you. Hey, do you think there's other ways personalities can clash and how you can deal with it? Do we have any examples come to mind? Yeah.
Sure. Slow. So if someone's really slow and has to look everything up, sometimes if the game is new to you, the type of character is new to you, you do have to look some things up.
Right.
But sometimes you have people that are they never learn anything about their characters ever.
Right.
And they're always looking things up. I don't know what to do. Yeah, that I can clash with that.
Yeah.
I won't be a dick about it, but it'll be irritating.
At some point you have to, well, I'll use Joe's terms. You got to sack up and learn your damn character.
Yeah.
I don't want, if you're playing a fighter, by the 9th or 10th time you played that fighter, you should know how to roll an attack roll. And not
another example of a personality clash might be I've had personal experience with this, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but wallflower players.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be infuriating to DM for.
Really, a wallflower?
A wallflower.
Just because
And sometimes there's the person who's an experienced player, but for some reason is acting like a wallflower.
Oh, okay.
Then gets angry when the spotlight's not on them and is instead on the people who are actually doing something.
Yeah, that's different from when, just say you're tired or you're not into it precisely as much as you normally are, but then you don't get mad.
Or maybe you're just
But
there
some
one
people
night.
might. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Maybe you're there just that night. You want to roll some dice. That's fine. And so I've had players that were kind of wallflowers, but they weren't problems. They were happy just to be there to watch the story grow. And they would roll their attack rolls and make their saving throws. And they were happy as pigs in slop, whether they got anything new, whether they got any of the gear, just being part of the crowd was cool. But you say, I've never had one that I thought was aggravating. That's interesting.
Playing Shadowrun, I had one player who he wanted to be the team leader for a mission, and everybody kind of agreed to it. It's like, okay, you can take point on this.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get there, we have our plan set out. Our decker lowers the security fences and blinks a light on a door to tell us to go in, and we all look expectantly at the player who's supposed to be the team leader, and he does nothing. He just sits there
and stares at you.
And one of the other players is like, well, and then again just stares. And then finally one of the other players gets fed up, heads in, grabs something, and then afterwards the guy who was supposed to take point kind of got a little whiny about not being able to be the team leader. And it's like, dude, we gave you every chance to do it. You wouldn't do it. I mean, there's that. I can't spoon feed it to you.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think in all those cases, I'm kind of, again, loving the sack up statement, Joe. I think you got to be straight with people.
Yeah, you don't have to be a dick about it, but you know.
Dude, you're moving too slow.
Yeah.
Okay, you played this character 6 times. You should know where your spells are. You should know what, you've cast Magic Missile 9 times now in 2 sessions. You should know what it does. You shouldn't even have to look it up. But if you do, you should be able to do it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that wallflower player, especially the one that's tries to, hey, I want to take the lead, and they don't. You're like, dude, look, that's fine, but you got to change how you play. You got to be more assertive. If you can't do that, you really can't be the quote unquote leader if you're playing a game where there's a quote unquote leader.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, I'll listen to something else there. What do you think about hygiene issues, personal habits? I've had a personal habit issue. Had one guy that was super OCD one time. He only played once or twice, but he would always look at people and they would if they would reach into a chip bag, he'd be like, I'm getting ready to reach. Are you going to put your hand in that? Nope. Are you going to put your hand in that? You've already taken one. Are you going to put your hand in that? He'd do that all the time. And then
that's the opposite of where I thought that was going.
And someone's like, they went to the bathroom and came back, and he was like, did you wash your hands? Are you sure you wash your hands? And I was like, wow,
dude, get out.
Yeah.
Get
That's actually what happened. I couldn't handle it. I was like, dude, it ain't working, because nobody was having fun, because he was so concerned about the environment. I don't know how he enjoyed the game. That was weird.
Wow. You needed a therapist.
I mean, I've had the opposite problem. I mean, not me personally, but I've had a player or two that it's like, dude, you are a little ripe, and you've been ripe the last couple times you've been here. You're going to need to do something about that.
Did you tell him that?
No, because I'm Mr. Non-confrontational.
Dude, I guess I'm just getting old and crusty. Now, here's a good thing. Randy's sniffer is not very good. I don't have a good smeller. So people, if I smell you're stinky, you are super stinky. So, but I'm just like, dude, you got to take a shower, man. Something's up. So, and especially if other players complain. I guess to me, I think, whereas it's not the DM's responsibility, you can make a good argument it's not. As a DM, I think I would like players to come to me, and I think I would at my table take the bull by the horns. I feel like I should do something about it.
especially if you're hosting the game at your place.
I mean, I'm just talking from Randy, as the DM, I tend to be a little controlling.
Who is this controlling person you're talking about?
Yeah, and I want
no.
Thank you. You each get 2 levels. Good job. So anyway,
levels mean nothing in 13th. I mean, in
Savage Worlds.
But
Correct.
those could easily be considered advances.
No, let's not do that. Let's stick with the term levels
or rank. We could jump from.
Oh,
are we still novice?
If you are,
yep.
Yeah,
you
so
could jump to veteran.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay, you like it now? Can you think of other player conflicts and how you might deal with them? Anything else that was top of your mind?
There's a lot of nitpicking you can do.
Okay, but I mean something big.
I think the best thing you can do is if you do have, and it depends on the nature of the relationship with the person you're talking about.
There you go.
So, you may not feel comfortable saying, "Hey, dude, take a bath," if you just met the guy, or you might. I mean, it depends. It depends on you, your personality type, and all that. But I also don't think you should just rely on the DM, even if they're the host.
No, you're right.
If everybody at the table is an adult, and I'm not saying dogpile the guy or be mean to them or whatever, but there's lots of tactful ways that you can address problems with. Now, if that other person wants to escalate, that's a different situation, but you tactfully deal with the situation that's bothering you one-on-one, or you shut your mouth and don't complain.
Cheaters.
Oh
yeah, that's a big one.
Oh yeah.
I've had one player who liked to roll his D20, and then if he knew it wasn't going to roll high, he would snatch it back up and say it was like rolling off the table and roll it again. Or he would sometimes roll, and then as soon as the die came up, he would quickly grab the die again so you didn't see what he rolled, and he would like do some math in his head, and it's like 36 36 to hit.
How did you handle that?
You can't possibly have that big a bonus even if you rolled a 20.
But I mean, good cheaters though don't do that. I mean, and you can't control that, but I mean,
there was also man who dashes off with other man's wife who liked to cheat a lot.
In lots of different ways.
Yes, there was that. That got handled outside of the game. But yeah, true. That was a thing.
I'm a half vampire, half dragon with like 30 and everything, and I have several feats that I can't possibly have. Oh, and I'm a blackguard.
Yeah, I remember that. I was the brunt of that BS. But yeah. So question is, I guess really when it comes down to, I think everybody says it, but it's, be an adult, be straightforward.
And working.
What do you think of this? How would you handle this? What about if it's a role play style? What if you have people that are like, they get into character, they do voices, and they care so much more about interacting with the local shopkeep to buy a pin for their shirt than to get on with the steading of the hill giant chief?
I have had that problem too. When my wife was playing with us, she loves to interact with NPCs. And one player started like kind of in character dragging her around and talking over her, saying she wants this, and trying to get the game moving along. And
the other end of that.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you're kind of in-game manhandling my wife. Stop it.
Was that because
let her play her character?
Was he annoyed that she was like talking to NPCs? He just wanted to get to it.
Yep.
Yeah, well, there's talking to NPCs, and that can be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's spending a whole day on the docks and with a little kid. And
I'm laughing because I know
the
exactly
whole
what you're talking
session, the whole
Yeah.
session. And, you know, most of it was fun, but it did, we were like, at the end of it, I was like, well, that was kind of a waste of time.
about. It kind of was.
But again, it depends. That was really the only time that ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
So not a big deal.
I remember back one from my college days. We had a guy who was sick of me playing wizards.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided I'm making everybody's characters for them.
I've done that.
And so what he made was a barbarian with an intelligence of 3.
How did I know it was going to be a 3?
That's because that's the way it always is. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm sick of you being a wizard all the time. You know,
Mhm.
branch out. And then he got really annoyed and really angry when I played him like he had an intelligence of 3.
Which is a retard.
As in, I could barely speak. I didn't know what the heck a contraction or a conjunction or any of those type of
Complicated
words are.
things.
And I would do things like I would take food from, I would shoplift because I have no concept of what currency is. And I just take what I want.
Right.
And then he stopped the game and just started screaming at me. What are you doing? Stop talking like that. You're annoying the piss out of me. And I went, intelligence of 3.
Yeah.
That's a 30 IQ. You're lucky I'm even speaking in complete sentences.
Yeah. So the question is, with that, but imagine you got the super heavy role player, you got the tactical war gamer guy. I mean, I think there's room at a table for all that.
Yeah.
But if you have someone that just can't pass up an NPC and must speak with them in character for 30 minutes every single time they see a new NPC, do you think there would be a time where you would need to say something?
Yeah, either that or you start killing all the NPCs.
That would take care of it.
I would pass a note.
You see a gangly barkeep, Joe, pull my sword, lop his head off.
Yeah. He's got red hair. He resists your vorpal, strikes you down with a bolt of lightning.
Yes. The finger flicks you through the wall. Okay, cool. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I don't think we got great solutions there, but do you have anything else you'd want to comment on?
It's an interpersonal thing.
Yeah, that is
tricky.
the thing.
Yeah, it really is. And I've gamed with all types. And sometimes a lot of your problems you're going to have with people in game, problems you're going to have with people out of game.
Truth.
And sometimes people clash. Sometimes people just can't get along. And that's just going to have to be a fact of life.
Yeah,
and, gamers aren't well known for their interpersonal skills, really.
No, that's true. But I think
enough for such a social game.
Yeah.
I would say in general, as gamers age, because I'm an aged gamer like a fine wine, I would think that your interpersonal skills would get better, but
they should.
Not. They should.
I think mine have.
Oh, yours definitely have. I couldn't stand you 10 years ago.
Mr. gave a ride to his friend on the hood of his car. I don't think your opinion counts a whole lot.
I think you're right. Oh, okay. Let's move along into a new topic. What about this? Homebrew versus Pre-Fab, baby. I'm talking about adventures. I'm talking about campaigns. I'm talking about rules. So the idea is, first topic, let's discuss it. So what are some advantages to running a homebrew campaign or a homebrew adventure? So you actually write the adventure, you design the campaign world. What do you think what advantages are there? And you can talk from DM or player perspective.
You know it better.
I think that's true.
And it's personalized.
Yes. It's not just for any generic adventurer. It's for Butch the Fighter. It's for Lazard the Wizard. I mean, it's for those specific characters. Yeah, or it can be. You can make it that way. Do you think? I think it tends to be sometimes better for prep, because as a GM, if I'm doing everything myself, I know that whatever I say just goes. I ain't got to look. I mean, and you can do that anyway, but if you want to run a Forgotten Realms game, you kind of often want to be quote unquote correct what Shadow Delve's like. Not everybody wants to. And if I'm developing my own town, it can be whatever I say it is. So the openness and creativity allows you to be more freedom, though some folks get paralyzed by that.
Yeah. The same
Depending
thing
on
with,
how much feedback you've gotten from your players, there may be certain house rules that you like better. Because I hear all your call-in guys are always talking about house rules and stuff, and you know,
it's
sometimes
OSR for you.
Yeah, it is.
Homebrew.
There's more house rules
facilitates
than
the
rules.
house rules much better.
Yeah, more house rules than rules. That's true.
Mhm.
And I think that can be, and if the tables that they're all like completely, you know, the same at the same spot, and they love the rules. You know, everybody wants to change grappling rules because they suck, or everybody wants to change the social interaction rules because they suck. And if you do it for your table, that can make things really sing.
Yeah, or they want to change the Vancian casting because it is objectively stupid.
But
which everybody agrees to, right?
We've always done it that way, Joe. You're not about to change that, are you?
What?
Vancian casting.
Change? What do you mean?
You don't want to not have Vancian casting. That's the right way, isn't it? Even if it's stupid.
I'm not sure what to say to that.
I can't hear you, Houston. I lost connection.
Malfunction.
I got two non-Vancians right here. What about
Homebrew campaigns also facilitate a bit of a shared player and DM ownership of the world.
Yes.
I remember a campaign I did a long time ago where I drew up an entire world map, and I had all the countries named and all the different cities and stuff, and the players really, really wanted to travel the map.
Yes.
And explore it and see what's there, because I know they felt more attached to it. And I had gotten a lot of feedback about that. And it's like, I feel like I'm actually part of this world.
Right.
And that's probably one of the biggest compliments you can get as a GM, I think.
And you don't have to read modules.
Nope.
I mean, because you're writing them, you know, and that's a big advantage. What drawbacks do you think Homebrew has?
Oh, I want to add one more thing.
Sure.
It's a lot more inexpensive.
Oh no, that is not inconsequential, Joe. You're right.
No.
It is absolute. I mean, dude, if you're gonna talk D&D, you could buy the core 3 books and never spend another dime if all you did is Homebrew. And that's saying something. And I know people that have. I've heard people that do that. They don't buy the extra crap. What do you think are drawbacks to the Homebrew?
Work.
Yep.
It can be work.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I always feel like I need to have so much ready before we even start the campaign. I've cut back on that to where I'm able to play a little quicker than I used to. And you feel like, man, I got to know where this is and that is and who all the power players are, when you don't really have to. But it can be overwhelming, even if you're just doing little bits, because you are doing all of the creating.
A good side to Pre-Fab, however, may be just sources of inspiration. You can gut a plot from a Pre-Fab scenario, insert your own stuff, and make it yours. Because there's a lot of good stuff out there. In fact, I have a couple of books that are just like 1,001 scenario hooks.
Yeah. My like 13th Age game, I'm going to do a 2-parter at CabinCon. It's 3 different adventures that have been published, but I have taken out I've taken no more than a third from them, no more than a third, and melded it in together to a new story. And I think that's a cool way to kind of mix the two, where you do kind of a homebrew thing. And that's how I like to DM. I like to just use the material that I like. This is a really cool encounter with this dragon. I'm going to pull that right out of this module and I'm going to plop it right into Hamlet. Roll initiative.
I like to borrow plots.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, I love the plot to this scenario. I really do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch around the characters. I may change a motivation of somebody, but I really like the plot and I want to keep that.
How about this? I think prefab adventures and settings, they're ready to go out the box and they're immediately accessible. If I say Forgotten Realms, which I'm not a huge fan of, it's okay. But if I say that, a lot of D&D players, they know the basics of the Forgotten Realms. They've heard of Elminster. They've heard of Dritz. They're ready to rock. I know how the realms is. Let's do it. I'm going to make a wizard. I'm going to make this. I'm going to make a Thavian fighter. And it's and the rules are familiar. I mean, that's kind of nice. And if you got
well-written module is also one of those things where you could give it to your DM the night before, and he'll be able to, have all of it ready to run like the next night.
Yeah, that's a great advantage. But to Joe's, the other side is it can be expensive. The opposite of homebrew. But homebrew can be expensive too. If you're like me, you have the collector mentality, you steal all the time, you got all these different adventures, and you take this piece and that piece and make your own, Frankenstein creation. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be cheap. And running the Forgotten Realms doesn't have to be expensive. You can buy the box
or
set.
If you get crafty at the game table and you want to make all your own stuff for player handouts and set pieces and
And another downside is, especially with world building, you could chase your tail a lot.
Yes, you can.
Making things that the characters never go to. You can make a detailed timeline of everything that's happened in the world from the time it became a planet to current, and you could be as detailed as Tolkien was with making an entirely new language and mythology and all of these things. And we would never know most of it if it wasn't for the Silmarillion.
True.
And maybe a couple other books that have been released subsequently that detailed some of his notes. But they were, for him at least, probably fun to do. But it can be a time sink, and you can chase your tail with world building, and that could be a negative. It could be a positive if you enjoy all that stuff.
Yeah, or if
Silmarillion was the campaign book,
right.
The Hobbit was an adventure module, and the Lord of the Rings was an adventure path.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy, Patrick. Well done. That's perfect. What do you think about? So, if you have a preference preference. So here's obviously my preference is to run homebrew, but still liberally from prefab stuff. That's my preference as a DM. As a player, I think I prefer prefab worlds because I will know. I mean, I don't know why. I just think I do. How about
I don't
you
care
guys?
as a player.
Don't care.
As long as I get enough little hooks from the DM when we're playing to know what what kind of world and all that stuff, that's fine. If we're just running through modules or running through adventures and there's not a whole lot of attention given to the world at large, that's kind of a letdown because it can make it difficult to orient your character. But if it's a prefab game world or module or both, then that's fine, because especially if it's a game world you're familiar with, and you know what you are oriented. And if the DM gives you a little, even if it's bullet points, about the world, you can orient yourself that way.
Right.
But so I'm fine either way.
Yeah. How about you, Patrick?
Well, as a player, I'm with Joe, but as a GM, that's yours is exactly the way I run things. Is I like doing my homebrew worlds, but I love scavenging prefab stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you guys both seen it. I have a boatload of modules from Pathfinder and before and other editions, and I'm just drawn to them because there's so much material there to pull from. So yeah. All right. Anything else, gentlemen, or the next topic?
Moving along.
Moving along.
Fudging dice rolls. Yes or no? Now there's more to this than meets the eye, but do you have a gut reaction? Should a GM, DM fudge dice rolls? Hey, can players fudge dice rolls?
I would say no to the players.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know. Players fudging dice rolls. To me, that I thought that was what cheating was.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay. But the DM's not cheating if they do it.
No, because he's the arbiter of the world, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
But the dice have the dice have a place, and the place is so that I'm not sure how much randomness really matters,
Mhm.
but at the very least, it takes there's a word that I can't think of right now, but it's not just up to the whim of the DM to determine success.
Right.
But in certain circumstances, the DM might, if it serves the story or fun
Mm-hmm.
for everybody, not just for the DM,
Right.
but for everybody, fudging is probably okay. I don't know that there's a whole lot of circumstances where that's practical, but that would be the only exception to the no rule that I would give.
Our Rollmaster campaign, we had this Lord Greenwood was a giant dragon that we were fighting against, and I got a really, really, really lucky shot with a lightning bolt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just incredible roll, maximum damage, and a 100 roll electricity critical, the top
geez.
of the critical chart.
Holy crap.
It's basically you vaporize your target,
Right.
and it's like a single lightning bolt took out a dragon with over like 300 hits.
Oh, wow.
And that's like, okay, that's the campaign boss.
Right.
And Aaron's like, I think I'm gonna fudge that. And even I was like, yeah, I let him fly off.
Very
I think I've punished
interesting.
him enough.
That is interesting, Patrick. And Patrick's a GM too, so you were feeling for Aaron at the time. That's interesting that you would say that. I would say that I've not seen many players would like that, and Joe is kind of frowning.
If you're fine with it, I would have been fine with it at the table, but I would not have done that as a DM.
No, I wouldn't have either. I'd have said, well, neither one of you. I don't know. Joe, did you play in my adventure with the dragon scatter spell where my wife's character?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I've told this story before, but I spent 4 hours prepping this dragon. The players spent 2 to 3 hours planning on how to attack it. Or about an hour and a half. They go in the first time, and he wipes the floor with them. And my wife, I think, did a time reversal. They went back and planned another couple hours. Joe was super prepped for everything. So was every other character in there. And Debbie went first and cast an epic psionic power. This was super high level 3/5. And this ridiculous dragon, who no matter what they did, he only had to not roll a 1 to make every save they could throw at him. He rolled a 1. And I was just like, and I rolled behind the table. I was like, and I literally was like, he made it. I'm like, no, he didn't. I'm kidding. No, he did. And the player's like, did he make it or not? And I lifted up my screen and they saw the 1. They're like, yeah, which means he was completely disintegrated. So that big fight. But, the players were like, I don't think people felt like, they felt a little like it was a little anticlimactic. But honestly, I think you were relieved because he had kicked your teeth in the first time you did it.
Right.
And so, I mean, temporal hurricane breath weapon will do that to you.
This is the thing.
For me, I felt that I wanted the GM to fudge it because Lord Greenwood was the kind of the major focus of the campaign, and to have everything just handed to us just because I rolled really well on one set of dice, it would have cut the campaign really short.
Was that? Go ahead.
That depends. That depends on how well the DM is prepared to shift plans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what at the very least he would say, holy crap, Give me 10 minutes. I got to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Then come back and say, okay, this is what we're going to do going forward.
Right.
It's just like, let's say you have a party entering in a dungeon or setting out on the adventure, and there's a random encounter and there's a TPK, or maybe there's a random encounter and your strong fighter in the party gets wiped out just by accident. Or you just make a bad roll at the very beginning. Maybe you can't open the lock of a door, or for some reason the party is stymied in advancing in the story. That doesn't mean the DM should fudge for them. That means the players need to regroup and figure out what they're going to do to get around or get around the situation so that they can actually progress. So in the same vein, the DM should be willing to say, wow, that's something, and regroup.
My counter to that, though, is I really think Star Wars would have been really lame if Obi-Wan Kenobi had critted Darth Vader and killed him on the spot.
Yeah, but the game's not a movie, though.
That's true. Tell me this, Patrick. Were you guys so low, let's use D&D terminology, so low level that you really shouldn't have been able to beat him at all?
We weren't fledgling, but we were still not at level 10, I think. And in like D&D terms, what I did would have been impossible. But under the rules of Rollmaster, a 1 in a million chance
just happened.
You can one-shot something. To me, I thought it'd be really lame to build up, Lord Greenwood, and then our first encounter with him, I get a lucky strike and just kill him outright.
I think that's a fair take. I'm kind of with Joe though, which is kind of OSR-ish, and I think, well, you let the dice just rule there, but
you take your lumps. You could easily, as a DM, it's not exactly the same thing, but let's say you take out Lord Greenwood and you save the town or the region or whatever for now. But Lord Greenwood has a contingency plan just in case and has a clone under ice. And it's just going to take a month or two for it to, come up to speed.
Or dig this, dude. This character, this wizard Patrick's got, his fame spreads throughout the land. So they come asking, expecting things of you that you're not ready to do. Hey, we think you guys should go take on this great demon lord now. You wasted that dragon. You're like, whoa. Like, dude, you killed him in one shot. I heard about it. It could be a fun thing, but I mean, I don't think Patrick's wrong. No. I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And
two different takes on the same situation.
What about the reverse? Lord Greenwood comes down, breathes on you, and you all roll stink and die.
TPK.
Yeah. What about that? Do we fight? I mean, I would think from that vantage point, Patrick, you would think you would fudge that too.
Because yeah.
I mean, a question.
It's just different play styles.
You're not feeling attacked, are you, Patrick? We're not attacking you. We're just kind of debating here. Your feelings aren't hurt, are they?
Leave me alone. No. I'm not attacked. I just have a difference of opinion.
My bad.
Yeah.
And because we're all adults, we can have a difference of opinion and not hate
We're not
each other.
triggering. We're not triggering you, are we?
No,
we're not trying. We must not be trying hard enough.
I know. We got to work a little harder with Patrick. So my point is, would you have felt the same way had you guys got smoked? And would Aaron have felt the same way?
I can't speak for Aaron.
Right.
But,
fair enough.
If I were DMing and I had Lord Greenwood come down and strafe with a breath of fire weapon, and it just happened to like one shot everybody and just kill them outright, I would, and this is personally,
Sure.
I would fudge it. I would really hurt the players, but I'm just not a fan of the, life is so cheap that these characters that you spent 3 hours making are taken out in like one strike, because I absolutely hate it when, you know, it was a big joke in the Gamers 2 Darkness Rising when the guy had the bards and he had like a stack of like 50 bard character sheets. They were all bards, they all had the same stats and stuff, they just had another name scratched onto it, and you know, he wore a different funny hat. But
Joe actually lived that experience. He had a weekend of 1,000 wizards.
yeah, I keep hearing of this epic and harrowing time of the Night of 1,000 Wizards.
It was something else.
Well, it wasn't all wizards. It was a lot of characters, a lot of character deaths, a lot of blood.
That's a module.
Gore everywhere.
That is a module name.
The weekend of 1,000 wizards.
Yeah, when I make my role playing game, I want you guys to write a module called the Night of 1,000 Wizards.
I've always wanted to write a module butt naked in a swamp. Joe will appreciate that more than most people, because we used to always, whenever the players would get screwed somehow, it would be like, well, I guess we're butt naked in a swamp. Because I actually had them teleport out of trap one time. They were like 9th level characters, and they had like way too many magic items. They had like, they had like 2 or 3 magic items.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
And so I had them go through this like portal. It was a trap, and it teleported them to a swamp. And they were totally, and they said, what happened? I said, well, you're butt naked in a swamp. And so that became the theme. When something shitty happened, they'd be like, well, we're butt naked in a swamp, fellas.
When I write Mud Sword, the RPG for you guys,
yes,
that'll be the first module, butt naked in a swamp.
Sounds good.
Except you won't be 9th level. You'll be first
Mud
level.
Sword, you can't get past 2nd level.
Yeah, baby. He's been listening. So, do you think then, so I hear Patrick's kind of leaning toward fudging's okay sometimes. Is it okay?
Sometimes.
Is it okay to give a better challenge in fudge? As a GM, if you're like, man, these orcs kind of blow. They're running through them. You know, here comes a new wave. They don't have 10 hit points. They have 35. They're the elite phalanx of orcs. Is that okay? On the fly. That wasn't your plan, but the players look too good, so make them tougher all of a sudden.
On the fly, yeah, I would totally do that.
Oh,
well, because sometimes you misjudge. And,
okay.
Yeah. If you misjudge, maybe it's an accident, or maybe you're just, who knows why you misjudge. I can see that being maybe not, they're in the middle of the fight and all 20 orcs have 15 hit points, but you know, they slaughter half of them in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I make the rest of them
all of a sudden
at that moment.
Right.
But well, all orcs from now on will have 500 hit points, or
right.
So it's much more.
So there's a sliding scale here that's interesting. Yeah. So what about this? Rule of cool. Do you fudge for that? Like, you know, Joe's rogue 2nd level, he's going to sling across this rope bridge. Underneath is a river of fire. And his dex is, you know, it's 15. It's good for a 2nd level character, but, you know, Joe rolls a 3 and only gets a +2 or 3 until he gets a 6. I mean, he should fall to his death, but it'd be cooler because really he's trying to get across and help his companion. He's bringing the antidote to the cleric who's dying from this spider attack. It would be cooler if he swings across and drops it off. Do you let it slide, or what do you do? Fail forward?
Yeah. Fail forward, I think I like it when,
because it's a type of fudging, right? Fail forward's a type of fudging.
Yeah,
it's a type of fudging, but usually fail forward means that you're still paying for it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like an alternate type of resource. It's like, okay, you failed your roll. Now you can succeed, but it's going to cost you. I'm for sometimes fudging, but I don't like it when it becomes a crutch, because I've watched games where it's become a crutch, where it's like, okay, you failed your roll. Oh, I'll just use a chip to pull the key to the door out of my pocket.
Right.
And I've watched players kind of do that too. And it's like, oh,
page.
come on, guys, that's not what taking narrative control is.
Yeah. That's interesting. So like, I think I just listened to a podcast. I'm going to plug Frankenstein RPG. That's the one that, I mostly don't agree with their choice of games, but I do like their discussion. And they talked about failing forward, and they all unanimously said it was poop.
I don't
That
like failing
it
forward.
was a poop mechanic. And you know what? They really convinced me, because I think it's just I think it leads to some really weird situations where you're constantly, and after a while, how do you think of, how does he fail forward if he blows his swing rope check? I mean, he makes it across, but bruises his knees? I mean, I guess, but then it starts to feel like we're playing Candyland, and every character gets by with, you succeed even with a little cost, but we're just going to keep going because, you're supposed to win. You're the good guys.
Yeah. Where's there failing forward lessens the risk quite a bit. It depending on how often you do it. I mean, if you have a mechanic like a hero point mechanic where you can re-roll or get a bonus on your check or whatever, that's one thing. But if you're just arbitrarily saying, well, this time it's cool if you don't actually fail.
Right.
I mean, the dice are there. That's the word I was trying to remember earlier, arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
And failing forward can seem arbitrary, because when do you do it? Do you do it every time, or do you just do it sometimes?
Yeah.
Well,
And one thing, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Fifth edition Shadowrun, their big new mechanic was a new stat called Edge.
Mm-hmm.
And Edge was kind of like a hero point resource. When you spent a point of Edge, you rolled a number of extra dice equal to your Edge, and it would help you to succeed even if your rolls are bad. Or they also had an alternative, Burning Edge. When you burned Edge, you permanently lost a point of Edge. But Burning Edge allowed you to do things like, oh, I have to leap off this building and onto a helicopter that's taking off. If I fail this roll, I die. And it's like, I make my jump check. Oh, I came just short. I don't want to die. I've got to burn Edge. And the Edge is permanently burned. I mean, you can use karma to buy it back, but that's a permanent stat loss that you have to take to be able to fail forward. I think failing forward's fine so long as the tax for it is there. Otherwise, you're just going to use it all the time just to as like a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, I think you can work in a game like Savage Worlds where you get bennies and re-rolls and attempts to do something else and take narrative control to sort of succeed at minor things or interesting things. But I think it has to be a resource. But if it's just no one ever fails, like in 13th Age, the implication is no one ever fails. There's no failing skill checks. And you know what? I'm sorry, that's just kind of weak sauce.
Dave's fail forwards usually always cost you recoveries.
That's not a bad way to do it. I've done that too.
And I always liked the way he did fail forwards, because there were some times where it's like, okay, I use my Ray of Frost to freeze this moat so I can walk across it. Mm-hmm. Okay, now I got to make a dexterity check to get across the ice bridge. I slip, I fall into the water and start going downstream. Mm-hmm. Now, that was a failed dexterity check. And Dave says, sloshing around, you finally, paddle to the other side of the moat. But, choking on the water and, fighting against the currents, you lose D6 recoveries.
Ooh, wow.
And I happen to roll a 6.
Oh, now that's harsh. That's a consequence. Yeah. Better than dying. That's not bad, but that's more manageable if there's really is a cost, I think, to it.
So I guess to put a finer point on it, that is the fail forward mechanic that I like. You're right. It makes the game way too easy if you just allow fail forward for everything, because eventually, no matter how much luck you have, it eventually runs out.
What do you think about the other side of the coin? What if it's like, like in Cabin Con, I'm more likely to do it anyway, but in Cabin Con, I'm going to run an OD&D clone, Swords and Wizardry, white box. And the dice are falling, dude. They're just going to fall wherever they happen. Whatever happens, happens. And I think that's easier to pull off in a one-shot situation. But do you think you would enjoy a game where it was, well, you guys have played with me. I tend to roll in the open more now. I don't roll behind the screen as much. If a DM rolls behind the screen, but rolls in front of a screen, doesn't that just say, look, I'm going to be fair? When the dice roll, stuff's happening. So, I mean, to me, it's very attractive. Joe's nodding his head. We both are we're heading toward that kind of a throwback to OSR, but, probably going to keep some modern rules.
I think it's because you got to look at what kind of game do you want to play?
Yeah.
Do you want to play the epic fantasy where it's a story about your characters that you just made?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to play this, gritty adventure where, it's survival of the fittest, and dice are gonna roll where they go. Don't be too attached to your character. That's a game I can play. I mean, I'm not completely opposed to it. In fact, I'm quite looking forward to this OSR game because there's a part of me even that has the OSR itch.
So fudging as a general idea.
Depends on your game.
I would say I will fudge at most 1% of the time.
Right. So a general rule, no, but there are some exceptions. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. And you, Patrick? If the game calls for it, okay.
Even though we disagree on a couple of them, if the game calls for it, or if the DM calls for it, sure. But it's not something I'm gonna let players rely on.
Okay. This next one, I didn't know how to handle this one because Joe suggested this on a text. It says, and maybe you want to clarify.
Yeah. Let me just do it.
You handle it. Go.
Yeah. Interrupting the DM's monologue. So I play a lot of very assertive characters. I can imagine a situation when, say, in a Western game, like on our Deadlands game, we roll up into a place and there's a bad guy. Maybe he's not the big boss, but he's probably a minor boss.
Right.
He starts jawing. He starts talking about stuff. I just put a bullet in his head. I don't let him talk.
Right.
Especially if I already know he's a bad guy and we've come there to end his badness. I don't care what he has to say. Boom. So that's what I'm talking about. So the DM starts talking in character.
Right.
Not just, let's say you're talking about, you're giving us some bullet points about the game world.
Didn't we have this actually happen? Didn't you do that to a guy?
I may have.
I
can't remember.
You started combat. No, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
But so that's what I'm. So some DMs may not like you to stop them when they're talking because it might be in that monologue that NPC is giving you important information.
Right.
And sure, your characters are there to ostensibly take him out, but he's going to deliver some information first. Well, I can be impetuous. My characters can be impetuous. That's a bad guy. His mouth is moving much more than I want. Boom, you're dead.
You know how I feel about it right now. Now I've shifted. I used to be annoyed by that. I used to get that a lot, especially in old school. And players want to get we get a surprise attack, right? He didn't know we were going to attack, and I'm like, just because he's talking doesn't mean he's not watching you.
Right.
But and so we had a situation with that snake oil salesman. Remember, he cast that spell on your Maverick, your one character, but you tried to get him, and I felt kind of bad because you were close. He just beat you on the draw.
Sure.
But you tried to attack him. But my thought is now if a player wants to interrupt the bad guy monologuing and there's important information, dude, I hope you kill him.
Yeah,
that's about to make your life very difficult.
Right. So there's ups and downs to being that way.
I'm there with that too. But I guess it does depend on the frequency of it happening.
Yes.
if this happens like all the damn time,
Mhm.
I think I might start getting irritated with the
Well,
player.
imagine if it's like, okay, my shop. Well, I got a couple of cool slap. Butch slaps your shopkeep for talking. Shut your mouth. I know what I want. I mean, it'd be like, Joe, I get you're impetuous, but damn, dude, I thought we're role playing.
It's an NPC.
Yeah. Shut your NPC mouth. How
Yeah.
dare you? Don't backtalk me. I'm a player
Shopkeep
character.
doesn't talk to Butch like
But
that.
if it
13th level fighter. Shut your mouth.
if it happens every now and again,
Right.
it
Be
makes
funny.
for some great moments. You know,
Right.
one of the best scenes in which Indiana Jones movie was it? Where the guy comes out with the swords and starts
The
brandishing
very first
them.
one. The
Indy
first
just shoots him,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you know, I guess not so little known fact that was a completely improvised scene.
I'd
Yeah, 'cause
heard that.
He
That's
was
cool.
not feeling well. He just wanted the scene to be over.
Yep, ended up being one of the best ad libs in the movie.
Yeah, I think that's fine as long as you're not doing it just to be annoying. I mean, like,
No,
I think what Patrick's saying is like,
it'd be,
I'm doing that because my character's impetuous and I just want to screw with the GM and never let him get his,
mm-mm.
his cool speech out.
It would for the kind of character I'm imagining, it would be for that, especially if it was a particularly annoying NPC that he's dealt with before.
Right. I don't care what you got to say.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't think. Oh, unless I was playing a bad guy
Right.
and he just wants to kill everybody, he's psychotic. But no,
Right.
it would be reserved for those special moments that I think would be really actually very dramatic, because it doesn't mean because my character pulls out his gun or his wand or his sword or dagger, whatever, that it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's intending to do. It doesn't mean it's going to happen that way.
True. All right. Cool. What do you think about splitting the party? I got some stuff down there, but I don't think I want to go down that road. Well, I'll go down the road, but I don't know if I want to hit it point by point. In general, isn't it kind of a default rule? Never split the party, right?
Yeah, that's the old chestnut.
But do you think? I think there are times where it's appropriate.
Well,
I
it's
think
very
so, too.
iconic. It's a very iconic story mechanism, sure.
I mean, even as simple as you just looted the Temple of Elemental Evil. Now you're coming back into Hamlet. I go to the temple. I go there. I go here. I go to the end of the Welcome Wench. I mean, people got other life. They got things to do besides adventure, and so they should be allowed to explore a little bit. And I like to role play that sometimes, not every time, but I like the players. If the players haven't, to get them grounded in the setting, grounded in the city where they feel like it's living, I think you have to let Butch wander off and talk with the local drunk who used to be a great general, and let Patrick's wizard head off up to the keep and talk to Burn the wizard to learn more spells. I mean, you got to let them do that. Or the game, I think the game becomes a little, kind of just, where's the next dungeon? Sell your stuff, buy new stuff, go get the next dungeon.
Reminds me of one of my favorite lines from the first Ghostbusters movie.
Mhm.
I think we should split up. Yeah, right. We can do more damage that way.
Yeah, true. Now, I think it takes a skilled DM to handle that. I've
It
seen
does.
a lot of
It
DMs
does.
can't handle that.
Especially when it's not downtime you're doing it in. If you're doing it in the dungeon or in the scenario, that takes a lot of finesse.
Yeah, I thought that article, I don't know if you guys read it, they did make a good point. I thought one point was really good. I don't know about the rest of it. They said, if you got them split in a dungeon and let's say they all get into a fight, they're all fighting something. You roll initiative and go in rounds and like maybe leave them hanging at one point when they're getting ready to start a fight and then go to the next group. But you got to manage that time. I think as a DM, it's very easy to say, I kind of like where Lazard and Butch are. They're looking at this really cool staff that's glowing and hanging in midair. And I like that room. The DM, I designed a really cool room and I want to really spend time there. Whereas someone else is just checking out, supposedly there was supposed to be a book stashed away in the library. That's a little boring. I could think that as a DM, that may not be my pet room. So I might be inclined to spend more time with Butch and Lazard than I would with, say, Tomas and, Zaris or whatever, two other characters that are over there in the library. And that can be a thing that you can do subconsciously.
Right. The article there was a point it made that I didn't really completely agree with.
Yeah.
Was that what you can do with splitting up the party is give everybody some highlight time and even have each of them have their own encounter, maybe at a fight and individually, and that gives them time to shine. And I'm like, and maybe with 5th edition characters or Pathfinder characters, maybe, but older game systems aren't designed for your character to go on solo.
Yeah,
because you fill each other's weak spots, and let's say you do that, somehow the party gets split, even if it's accidental, and you've got some magic user who has a dozen hit points and a 9 armor class.
Right. Yeah.
You get surrounded by goblins.
Yeah, by 2 goblins.
Yeah, that's what it takes to constitute surrounding a wizard at that point.
I think the DM, you have to plan for that. I mean, you have to be really ready for a party split. When players surprise me with that, it sometimes gets a little squirrely.
Yes.
So in general, I think I agree with the mantra, don't split the party, because you can get the most fun for the most people by everybody staying together. But I think there are moments where you could.
It's usually what I usually reserve splitting the party for the downtime stuff.
Yeah.
And usually it depends on what your downtime activity is, on whether we're going to pay much attention to you.
Yeah.
There's I think it might be far more interesting for, the players who are the 3 that are going off to have dinner with the king, rather than the wizard who's going to the library to look up the remnants of a fragmented spell that they found in a dungeon. It's important information, but the action is going to be, I'm going to have the wizard player make a dice roll, and I'm going to slip him a piece of paper that he's going to read while we're tackling the dinner with the king.
Yeah, and if the fighter, heads off to the blacksmith because he owes a debt to this guy, said he would work, 3 months for him, and he's 2 months in. Now, one thing I like to do in that situation, though, is the group that's getting the biggest highlight, because it's kind of cool. If I'm trying to find a good place to drop the next adventure hook, I'll drop it with a different person. Someone that doesn't get as much spotlight. Maybe, Butch is, working for the blacksmith, and the blacksmith's like, oh, that's a mighty fine job you did on that sword there, Butch, he goes, it's funny that that sword looks an awful lot like this one. And he'll bring up a broken sword, and Butch will great, stupid broken sword. He said, no, hold it. And it's light. And in fact, if you drop it, notice it hovers. He goes, there's a piece of this. Supposedly this was bitten off by a dragon that lives up in the hills, and he's supposed to have it inside of his stomach. If you can get it, you'll have a dancing blade.
Or the other example with the people having dinner with the king. The wizard finds that fragmented spell is a mind-binding spell that has the king's name on it. Oh. And the wizard finds out that the king's under a serious enchantment from this lich lord. And his companions may be killed at dinner.
Right.
And now he has to
rush over there to help them.
That is cool.
Okay, what about the last one here? Letting the players help. This is something I've wrestled with. And the idea is, for me, and if you let the players do some of the lifting in the campaign, like creating races, places, cultures, run NPCs, henchmen, and stuff like that.
AKA West Marches.
Yeah, and even where you let them really make decisions. Like I'll say, okay, we're playing this campaign, we're starting in Hamlet, and blah, blah, blah. And Patrick's like, hey, my wizard is from, the next town, the next country over. If I have a secret cabal I've worked with, we don't ever tell anybody where we train at, but we send out one wizard a year to go out and adventure, and he's supposed to come back and report. And you're just building this whole thing up because you thought it was cool. And the DM's like, yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I love the idea, but honestly, I don't find a lot of players taking me up on it. Maybe I don't encourage it enough. Well,
it's also a matter of that individual's tendencies. They may not get into the game that way. True. And the other thing, I read that article, and it was kind of a weird article. It was like, What happens when the DM comes to the table and it's like, oops, I don't have anything.
Yeah, that was yeah.
Kind of weird. And then this is what you can do. These are the things that the party can suggest. And one of them was having a party. Right?
Yeah, I know. It's
weird. There's a bunch of weird stuff there.
It was weird.
However, player input to world building is fine.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you have on here is tracking initiative during fights. That's cool too.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I love to pawn that off on a player.
Yeah. Tracking party resources. That's a fine thing a player can do as well. If there is a combined like stock of resources that the party has all contributed to, and one player's in charge of
the party gold that we share for resurrection.
That's good stuff.
Yeah,
that was me when Jeff ran Rise of the Rune Lords. I was basically keeping track of every single thing we took off the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
I was in charge of selling stuff in town. I ruined Sandpoint's economy. And,
yeah, you would. Yeah. Do you think what do you think about players running henchmen? I feel like now that's exactly how I would do it. I don't want nothing to do with running the henchmen.
The only caveat you could put in that is if they start making the henchmen do things that they're not going to do.
Well, John the man at arms heads over there and he picks up the magic stone that's glowing red and it says "Warning, don't touch it." He picks it up. No, he doesn't. The only henchmen I wouldn't want you to run are the ones that I'm going to have backstab you when you go to sleep. The assassins,
of course,
because one of every three.
Because everything comes full circle.
It always does.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
And that's speaking of henchmen, it is an interesting thing. I keep hearing it come up in the OSR podcasts as if it was actually part of the game, and it's kind of not at the moment. In more modern games, it's not really part of it.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of try to do it in 3rd edition with leadership feat, but that was a little OP.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on, maybe not in all circumstances, but it seemed like it was pretty powerful.
I thought it was pretty OP.
But I think it's actually a pretty interesting idea from the point of view of not necessarily having someone that's going to help you fight.
Right.
But a party of adventurers would be well served by having camp followers.
Yes.
So people to take care of your stuff while you're in that hole in the ground or whatever it is.
Yep.
And now if there's danger coming to your camp, they're going to run.
Yeah,
and
the
porters want them to.
Yeah, you don't want the porter pulling up a sword he can barely lift off the ground and trying to fight off, an army of orcs.
But you might
One of your henchmen also may ride shotgun in your cart and carry a crossbow and be able to take care of things at the camp.
Sure. You may have some henchmen that are men-at-arms that can fight off, lesser threats. So that's cool too.
But not a hill giant come rumbling through the camp.
No. The advice of those guys would be run now.
Mm-hmm.
Run away.
Yep.
Leave the horses.
Yeah, leave the horses. All right. Any other comments there? Or we think we're ready for a Cabin Con moment?
I think we can move on.
Yes, we are so close. Fast enough. 2 weeks away. I think we got Patrick here. He's kind of our director. I think we're going to do right now we're thinking about doing a video maybe every night if we can, and then uploading it to YouTube. I think that's loosely our plan, right? But we're not sure if we're going to do it. It probably won't be a live stream. It'll probably be a delayed video, right? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, when we come back, make like 3 or 4 episodes out of it.
Cool. But at Cabin Con, how do we deal with player conflict at Cabin Con? Because Lord knows we've had player conflict at Cabin Con.
Yeah.
Arguments.
What is the definition of a daily? Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had arguments, and then
Somebody
I think we
snores too loud.
Over time have settled.
Snores too loud.
We had that a couple times.
God, Tim.
Yeah, we had some.
It was.
That's not been
epic,
solved.
Though.
That's not been solved.
They called his. What's that?
They called Tim's
I guarantee you his snoring can be solved.
Yeah.
They called his wife to call him and say, just wake him up, please.
I have a problem with snoring, and it's gotten, I didn't used to, but I've gained a lot of weight, and it's gotten
That'll
bad.
do it to you. Yeah.
So a lot of people, their snoring has to do with extra tissue in their airway, and if you lose weight, you can correct the snoring without having to get a CPAP or anything else. Some people, if you gain enough weight, you end up having to have that stuff removed, that extra tissue.
Besides the argument here or there, we haven't had a gigantic blow up at Con, have we?
Not about games.
Yeah.
Oh, we had a pretty big discussion about character death.
Oh, that got a little intense. Remember that during the arena?
But it
The
didn't
Elysium
lead to
campaign?
any lasting
No.
bad feelings. It was just we all had our opinions and we
Yeah.
stuck to them.
Yeah, and I think we came to a good resolution where this type of you know ahead if it's going to be was a true death adventure or whether it was a I get to jump back in the milk bath adventure. So
I
yeah,
think
that was
the only time we've ever come to, to blows over something was something outside of the game, whether it be, somebody acting a little inappropriately over the phone or
yeah. Mhm.
or
We've had some political discussions that got out of hand.
some political
We did.
discussions got out of hand. Sometimes they're, we know each other pretty well, so
Yeah.
we pretty much know where our belt lines are.
Mhm.
But sometimes there'll be a good-natured kick below the belt.
Yeah. What about splitting the party? And here I'm being a little bit goofy and play on words. I'm not talking about at the table. You can do whatever you want. It's a one shot. Splitting the party is fine. But I mean, like, I think, Patrick, you mentioned this once. We sometimes, when we got really big that one year, 24, 25 people, we kind of fell into cliques.
Yep.
I mean, me and Joe and Philip were like the gaming partners. And we were like just
I,
gaming and kind of
I
ignoring
did-
everybody else.
Tell you what, I did not like Cabin Con 12.
Was that the one? We had the
That
most
was
people?
the one where I said afterwards, I haven't seen you all weekend.
Yeah, that was tough. And I think as much as I thought, I was like, well, that's all right. What are you crying about, Patrick? But the truth is we're all friends and it's supposed to be buddies getting together. And I'm with you. I want to see all my buddies. I want to play a little bit with everybody. I want to spread the love, as it were, and get the love spread on me.
Oh, there's a lot of
That
love
did,
spread
that
back
did
Cabin
not
Con.
sound good. But
No.
yeah, I think
We'll have to edit that out. This is a family program.
that was not meant to be that, but it was funny because it was a double entendre. So
No, that had
was
pretty
it
much one meaning,
single entendre.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it was dirty.
Innuendo.
Yes, I think for the most part, do it. Do you think we do a pretty good job for the most part, though, of everybody getting a chance to play with a mixture of people?
I think we try our best, and the dice fall where they may.
They do.
I know that it's been a lot easier, especially last year when we had only like 13 people.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to all get together to game.
Yeah.
And I think eventually, I personally think eventually Cabin Con gets too big.
Yeah, I think we have to watch it. I think that's a dangerous thing. We may have to. Well, who knows? We'll see how it goes.
We could have two different. If it gets too big, we can split it.
We could
have Cabicon East Side, West Side.
Yeah,
We
baby.
have gang symbols and stuff.
Yeah, we could rumble. We could rumble every year.
Nope, we have Cabin Con week 1 and Cabin Con week 2.
Yeah, we could.
That's much less entertaining.
It is. I'd much rather see a rumble, a nerd rumble.
Nerd Rumble.
Okay, that's cool. All right. How about we dig this setting? So did you notice the setting I picked?
Dark
That
Sun.
is
Dark
Dark
Sun.
Sun. That's an interesting setting. So it was released in 91. There was a second release, I think, in 93. And I think that was the one that had the cloth map. I can't be sure. And so Dark Sun is this desert world survival sort of setting. Magic has devastated the world of Athos. There are city states that control smaller areas. Psionics is kind of the dominant form of magic, if you will, and it doesn't mess with the world. And magic, you have the defilers and the preservers. Preservers are wizards that try to cast spells in such a way that they don't destroy plant life and animal life. And the defilers are like, screw that noise. I'm casting spells to do whatever I want it to do.
Preservers had to walk a really difficult path,
Yeah.
and defilers cast magic a lot easier than preservers do.
Yeah. What did you guys like about Dark Sun?
I thought that the world was pretty rich.
Me too.
I like the setting.
There's a part of me that kind of likes the post-apocalyptic setting. It scratches an itch for me, where sometimes I want the big like survival game. And
Dark Sun's there for that.
It's even better if it's still got magic in it. I mean, I love the world of Fallout, but I would like it even better if it had magic.
I didn't like the cat like you have in the cons.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like the cannibal halflings. I thought that was weird.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think they just twisted it because they wanted to make them different.
Yeah.
And that was probably, this is different. Let's write it in.
Yeah. I did love the Brahm artwork.
Yes.
Dude, that was pretty sweet. And I thought the concept, I initially was really taken with the concept of the stable of characters, where they suggested you start the campaign with 3 characters. And I think if you let one character level, the others would level at one level behind them or something. So once your initial character got third, your 2 stable characters got second. And that was kind of cool. I like the fact that magic was draining life, because that meant you couldn't cast magic as readily, and I knew Joe would hate that, so that was cool. And
yes, but they had dragon high lords, so you could
did.
always aspire, or the Evangeon, which is kind of the angelic version.
Right.
You could be a wizard psionic character
Oh my
at
gosh.
the same time.
The king of all characters, no doubt.
Yeah.
I guess that cloth map was amazing. I love the cloth map. Wasn't a huge fan of the Thrycreen race. I thought their double attacks.
Those the praying mantis looking guys.
Yeah, and they would get like 2 weapon fighting proficiency. It wasn't called proficiency, what it was. And they could like get multiple bite. They could do a bite and claw attack. They could attack like 3 or 4 times around at first level. And they made just ridiculously powerful rangers. And so, I wasn't really a big fan of the Thrycreen. Plus, they were supposed to be totally weird and couldn't speak a vocal language. I had a hard time wrapping my mind around the no metal armor. That sounds weird, but I was trying to envision what kind of. They showed the chitin armor, right? Like an insect shell.
Yeah.
That looked cool. But I was like, there's no metal. And they're like, you got obsidian swords and you got, I forgot what else they had, but I don't know why. I just had a hard time wrapping myself around that idea.
Yeah, no water and no metal.
Yeah, and so I guess I just at that time I wasn't sure. I don't think I was really fit as a DM. I just couldn't run an apocalyptic / survival, almost like survival, not horror, but kind of survival adventure game. It was different. As I look back on it now, I'm thinking it'd be cool, but then I didn't know quite what to do with. We had fun, but I thought the races seemed a little overpowered. Even the mole, who was like a half dwarf, he was pretty uber.
Right.
How would you guys rank this setting on the scale of extra small to 2x?
Probably L. I like it.
Me, I keep flip-flopping between. The more I think about it, the more I keep flip-flopping between medium and large.
Yeah, I think I'll lean a little bit toward medium, because I don't think I could run the campaign forever, but I could run it for a while. And I do think it's neat. I mean, I would not, I think I could play it easier than I could run it. I don't know. Maybe it's just my cup of tea, but who knows? All right, guys. Well, I think we're near the end here. And I didn't change the script there, Joe. We had talked about it. We just want you guys that are listening to please share it with your friends, this podcast. Get the word out there so we can get more listeners. If you want to contribute, that's great. We do have a website, www.biggestgeekispodcast.com. There's a support tab if you want to hit it. That's cool. But as we said, we're more about the
Getting the word out.
Getting the word out. Yeah. If you have any comments, you can send us an email at questions@biggestgeekest.podcast.com, or do like some of the good folks like John Allen and a new buddy Taylor, and Patrick, that crazy guy that called in, and Mr. Nerds RPG Jason. Give us a
I'll never
holler
have
at
that
him.
guy on your show, by the way.
Oh, that Patrick guy? Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
can't. He's no way he's not getting on. But those guys, we appreciate them calling in.
Yes.
We encourage you to watch, to listen to the Red Dice Diaries with John Allen and his wife Hannah, Radio Grognard with Glenn Hallstrom, Tale of the Manicore, that's a unique dramatized quasi-actual play, Tavern Chat with Eric Tinkar, the czar of the OSR, Nerds RPG Variety Cast with Jason, and Shadow the GM with Barry. Some of our favorite podcasts. Do you want to plug anything, Patrick, your company, anything exciting coming down the pike?
Just pointyhat.games. I would really like to put out that second game soon, but until the coof allows people to start looking for work again, I'm still going to be working for 3 people at a time.
Oh, goodness. All right, then. Joseph, anything else from you, my brother?
Well, I don't believe we're going to have a negative material plane. So if you don't want to stick around to the end, then don't bother. We're pretty happy this week.
Yeah, we are happy campers because Cabin Con is close. Anyway, this is Randy.
And this is Joe.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.